So let's bust the narrative.
Let's do it.
So, if you don't know by now, Trey Lance went number 3. We had been talking about Mac Jones going number 3 all along. My first question is are you friends with Kyle Shanahan? Can we confirm that that's happened, or maybe that friendship is now over?
No, I'm still friends with him. I am. And listen, I was as shocked as anybody.
Yeah,
I really was. I wasn't trying to do my friend a solid and keep everybody off, Trey Lance or no, I was not. First off, listen, Mac Jones was always my number 3 quarterback. My logic of Mac Jones, of course, was somewhat based around my own studies and the logic of why I think you would trade up to number 3. But then, as I always said, I never had a moment where it was like Kyle Shanahan told me and went, we're taking Mac Jones at 3. I've told everybody that. First off, I'm not a bull. I think you know that by now, right? So yes, through my knowledge of my friend, knowing what he likes a quarterback, everything like that, I certainly thought he was going to take Mac Jones. And I think that for a time, I still believe in my heart of hearts that that was the guy. I do. But somewhere along the lines or somewhere along the journey there, it definitely changed.
So that is one of the narratives,
right,
is that you knew that the 49ers were going to take Trey Lance.
I did not.
But hyped up Mac Jones as some smokescreen for your friend Kyle Shanahan.
No.
That one we busted.
No. I knew he liked Trey Lance. I knew he was very intrigued by him. Mm-hmm. But I always thought, and again, my conversations with him about the quarterback position happened so long ago. It didn't matter anything. But yes, I thought just from my conversations back in January talking about the quarterbacks, that I got the feel then that it was Mac Jones and Trey Lance. That was the feel I got. So, all right.
And it's not just you. Multiple reporting that Kyle Shanahan was high on Mac Jones.
Sure.
49ers, that the Patriots were high on Mac Jones.
Sure.
That Sean Payton and the Saints were high on Mac Jones.
Yeah.
And maybe there were other teams as
right,
well that were very high on Mac Jones.
Yeah.
And so there would be reason that if you were one of those teams that were high on Mac Jones, to think that you had to trade up for him at some point, because you're hearing, oh, there's a lot of teams that like this guy. Why wouldn't they like this guy? Here's Peter King talked to Kyle Shanahan.
Right.
And Kristen, do we have the quote for it? So Peter basically asked him, what do you think about those Mac Jones rumors that you were inevitably going to take him? And Kyle said this: we weren't going to work to correct that. So he's talking about those rumors out there that turned out, I guess, to be not true. But to see how much this matters to so many people was just unbelievable. It really taught me a lot about people, and I guess it's awesome for our league, all the attention. So he's kind of insinuating that he didn't want to correct those false rumors out there that they were leaning towards Mac Jones.
Right.
So, and part of it is you want to send a message to Trey Lance, you were the guy. We never had any doubts, right?
Sure,
so I get part of that is
yeah,
it. But I guess there's no benefit into saying, yeah, we were on Mac Jones, and then we got scared and changed our mind.
No, there is no benefit of that. There's no reason to say that. And again, whatever you're studying the process and who you're going to take until the very end. I'm sure there was lots of guys on different boards who got switched or tweaked in the last week, 10 days or whatever at certain positions, everything there. He's not worried about the narrative that was out there. Obviously, though, within that quote, he realizes how passionate and at least what was being said out there.
49er fans,
right?
Very few wanted Mac Jones.
Right.
Do you think that, shook him a little bit?
Well, I don't know. I'm not going to say it shook him. I'm not going to say that. But I think that quote to me tells you they were very aware of the backlash of Mac Jones. That's what I think he's talking about. The passion our fans have. He means our fans hated the Mac Jones pick and would have been fine with Trey Lance or Justin Fields. They obviously know. They know the temperature of the room.
Yeah.
So that for sure, yes. Again, I don't think that swayed it in any way. But I don't know. I don't want to say too much here without you got another question to answer, because I'm going to just keep rattling off and keep going. Do you want me to bust any other narratives here?
Yeah.
Yes?
Keep that in mind, whatever you were about to say there.
Okay.
But here's a narrative, too.
Right.
Is that the 49ers always needed to trade up to number 3 to get Trey Lance.
Well, I'll bust that narrative for sure. No, so that to me is where this is going to be put under a microscope eventually, because I think that's what people in league circles are already talking about, but the media is still talking about it was Trey Lance and not Mac Jones.
Yeah.
And they haven't quite got onto that yet. But I know there was, chatter in the league of like this weekend of, did the 49ers really need to trade up to number 3? I've heard from enough people to know that, within the NFL community, that Trey Lance's agent, Jimmy Sexton, was calling around, before the draft to teams because he wasn't sure if he didn't know the 49ers were picking him at 3 at that point, and he wasn't sure who was going to pick him, right?
And that can happen to quarterbacks,
so
right?
that can happen.
You
no
have
doubt about
only
it.
a few available destinations,
right? So he was obviously worried a little bit, going like, wait, my guy, I don't really have a spot for him right now if they pass him at 3. So there at base level, it makes you think, yes, he would have been there at 12. I don't know if he would have been there at 12. Again, them trading to number 3 changed the circumstances too, right? So maybe if they went to 3, because it affected Carolina, right? Maybe that affected Carolina at number 8, where they had their eye on, Mac Jones. But then they went, maybe they listened to idiots like me and everything and went, well, maybe he is on Mac Jones, so let me make a move to get Sam Darnold.
Yeah, do you think Carolina or Denver would have ended up with Mac Jones if they didn't feel like the 49ers were trading up to get him? Do you think that they made their moves thinking like, okay, we got to get Sam Darnold because Mac Jones is going to be gone?
I think Carolina did. That I feel confident in. Denver, I don't know so much about. I don't know. I'm not quite sure what Denver's thought process was at the quarterback position. I had always been led to believe, kind of what I've been saying all along, that they want to bring somebody in there just to compete with him. I know there was the rumors of them wanting to draft a quarterback, but I always thought during the draft that I was kind of taking that as like, this is just one of those teams that's saying we like a quarterback, hoping some team might want to trade up to number 9 and do that, right? That's at least what I took it as. So I think the Panthers are the one to watch out for sure. But I think that's going to continue to be, as we get into this conversation, and it's, Trey Lance and Fields and Mac Jones are always going to be compared to each other and all those type of stuff, and the wins and losses and stats are all going to be dependent on that. But I think that is one thing that people are going to look at as we go further, and especially if Lance doesn't do well, people are going to go, and we traded away 3 first-round picks, and we didn't have to do that. And again, maybe that's the other thing I could say is if I look at the process to where I would just go, end of March, making that trade right then. And again, it seems like maybe a little undecided about who they wanted to take. Why not just sit back and kind of read the tea leaves a little bit and get a feel for the draft? And then maybe if you just stay at 12 and then, okay, now you got a feel, and maybe you only had to trade up to number 7 or 8 as you get closer to the draft, as you get this feel for it. I think that's the thing that's going to be dissected as we go along.
That's always the thing. You have to pay for certainty, right? You have to pay a premium for that. It's like, I just want to be certain. It's like, okay, you can get that, but you're going to have to pay a premium. And you heard from other teams how difficult it may have made trading down the price that the 49ers were willing to pay just to move up the, 9 spots right there. It's like, all right, we want to trade down, but we're not getting anything close to what the Dolphins got from the 49ers there. So this is a funny thing that I was, I've got a lot of Bay Area followers and 49er fans. And a lot of them would tell me, they're like, we don't necessarily dislike Mac Jones. You don't trade 2 future first-round picks to trade up to get Mac Jones. You could get him later on. And it turns out that was true. And so I threw this poll out there, Chris. And I go, taping with Simms today. It's kind of like a humble brag. It's like, I know Chris Simms, no big deal. But then the question was, would you rather have Trey Lance was one option, or Mac Jones plus your 2 future first-round picks back? And as of right now, 1,400 votes in, 60% of the people say rather have Mac Jones plus the 2 future-round picks. So that's not all 49er fans. That's just all my followers out there. A lot of the 49er fans are still trying to talk themselves into the fact that, Trey Lance, this is a trade. But you have to factor that in, too. There's a chance you could have waited and gotten a quarterback that's higher on your list without giving up any of those future first-round picks, which indicates to me how desperate they were to move on, how desperate they were for another quarterback.
That's another aspect that's not – it's exactly right. They've given you so many signs this offseason to basically say, we're done with Jimmy G. I mean, we might ride it out this one last year or whatever, but it's over. They've seen enough. They've had enough. And you're right. They moved on and they made an aggressive decision. And like we said back then, it's just Shanahan took control of the draft. And he was not going to have to, if, what, I don't know what's going to happen. But yes, I mean, hey, the way it shook out, yeah, you sit there right now, and it's easy to talk about this, Monday after the draft. He probably could have got Trey Lance or Mac Jones at number 12 with the way everything shook out. But again, we don't know. There's some other circumstances that went on before that and everything like that. So it is interesting, and they're going to be compared. There's no doubt. And hey, it's going to have scare Shanahan too. That Mac Jones ended up in New England. I bet you he was probably like, he's going to end up there, damn it, because he knows it's going to be compared to, and now he knows he's going with Bill.
Yeah.
And it's maybe the best, most complex drop back pass offense in football, and Shanahan's going to know, wait, I know that guy can go there and do that. So that's going to be scary, and he knows that's going to up the ante as far as how they're compared to.
I was watching it with the quarterbacks. Your I told you so's.
Right.
I was like, your I told you so's are hurt here a little bit, because if Mac Jones goes and dominates in New England, we'll be like, well, he's got Belichick and he's got this great scheme around him. I don't know that you're going to get the full credit for that. If Justin Fields goes to Chicago and falls on his face, people are going to be like, well, yeah, that's Nagy.
Yeah.
They can't develop a quarterback over there. You're not going to get full credit for that. And if Kellen Mond goes out there and somehow beats out Kirk Cousins, people are going to go, well, yeah, that's Kirk Cousins. Anyone could do that. I was like, dang it.
I know.
I told you so.
And then Shanahan's going to be like, kill it with Trey Lance, and I'm not going to be able to say anything.
Exactly. Yeah,
you're
going
right.
to figure out a way. I was like, you're kind of screwed here. Either way, I was like, this is
the thing that's funny, I think, about the Mac Jones thing is everyone's like, whoa, that system and that offense and up there. And I want to pin some people on TV and go, yeah, but you're the same people that say Brady did the whole system, but now the system's awesome.
Yeah.
It was Brady, but now Brady's gone, and now they got a quarterback, and now it's the system's going to make this quarterback, but it didn't help make Brady. That's where I just laugh. That's where it's like you hear narratives. It's like two different narratives with the same team, and you're like, what? You don't make sense. That doesn't make sense. So, is there any more busted narratives on the 49ers?
Yeah, but go. Keep going.
Well, I think that's ultimately where Shanahan got to this conversation. Listen, I talked to him a little bit after the draft, about the quarterbacks and all that. Yeah, there was true love for Mac Jones. There's no doubt about that. As I told you, he was always intrigued by Trey Lance. And I think ultimately what got him into the whole Trey Lance, and I know he said some of this stuff to Peter King on the Football Morning in America and all that type of stuff too. But I think where he's really excited about Trey Lance is, one, he's the best run game designer in football, all right? He's the best run game, let me tie it together with the play action pass in football. And I think this just gives him more avenues to mess with people that way. I think that's basically the thing that I came away with our conversation that he was really excited about. He's a few receivers are injured? Okay. Well, if I had my Mac Jones offense, that could affect Mac Jones. With Trey Lance, yeah, it'll affect him a little bit, but I have this element of the run game that still saves me, right? And I think also, too, and I've heard Kyle say this a lot over the last year, people are just stealing his stuff everywhere, So now this gives him a quarterback and an offense that other teams are not going to be able to emulate, or most of them not. Baltimore Ravens can, right? And maybe a few others. Josh Allen with the Bills, maybe he'll steal some of Shanahan's quarterback run plays. Yeah. But for the most part, now he's going to get to play teams on a week-to-week basis and go, you haven't seen this. You haven't seen this type of attack. You probably put a receiver at quarterback in practice this week and all those type of things. But I think that's where it excites Shanahan, is the fact of the advantages it's going to give him to him in his running game. It's going to kind of swing the curve back into his favor that way. And, of course, with Lance and his ability to run off of that, he's got a strong arm. I think he thinks he's just going to be able to more consistently mess with defenses and really give them issues with a guy like Lance as compared to maybe the Drew Brees, Mac Jones, Matt Ryan type in the offense.
How good of a runner, though, is Trey Lance?
Yeah.
Do we know? I mean, is he as good as Lamar, Kyler?
No. That's where I have pushed back against that narrative. I think you've heard me say that a little bit is, hey, I love the athleticism. I'm not sure how great of a runner Trey Lance is either. Yeah. He's definitely not Lamar Jackson. No way. I think his running is a hair overhyped, I guess is what I'm saying. But, again, good size. He is fast. There's no doubt about that. And I think Shanahan, too, the other thing you learn, and if you listen to Peter, I think Shanahan was blown away by the intangibles to go along with it.
Yeah.
Just everything, whether it's the psych testing, the ability to process information, personality tests, all of those. I think those all like checked out really high, and that's where he's excited about it too. So there he's got a guy he likes. He's wired mentally the way he likes. Physically, he's close to the guy he likes. And then I think when he gets excited about coming up with game plans, it's run game first. You know, that's what's different about Shanahan. Like Josh McDaniels and Sean Payton and Andy Reid would be like, whoa, this guy here and that guy there, and we're going to do this, and I want you to read it 1 to 2 to 3. And they'd be all, Shanahan's more like, I want to get in this formation and motion the wide receiver over here, and now I know they bring the safety down over here, and we're going to pull the guard, and I'm blocked down. And that's what excites Shanahan.
Yeah.
That's what excites him. So now he's got another piece of the puzzle with Lance, too, now, to where he gets to play 10 on 11 football, right? He doesn't have to. He's got one more number in his advantage with his scheme and creativity to go along with that, let alone think about like the Shanahan, the toss sweeps and the outside zone, and teams play him so aggressively for that all the time.
Yeah.
And play people in those alleys and do things that way. Oh, okay, yeah, here comes the outside zone or the reverse speed sweep or something like that. Oh, no, sorry, you're wrong. We're pulling Lakeland Tomlinson and Trent Williams, and we're going to run up. You were trying to stop the outside zone, and now we're going to run inside it. And you don't have enough people in here, and now we got all these blockers with a fast quarterback, and you're fucked, for lack of a better way to say it. I think that's what's exciting Shanahan.
But what makes that more dangerous is that you have the threat to beat them with your arm and the passing game too, right? Because some teams may say, all right, we'll load up and stop the run. We'll stop Trey Lance. Beat us with your arm.
Yes.
And can he do that?
Yeah, well, that's going to be the big question, to see what he can do to do that. You know, if it has to come back to dropping back and, like, throwing the ball 30 times a game in the drop-back pass game, I would say no. He's not ready to do that, and he's not going to beat you that way.
Yeah.
But I think if Shanahan, which I expect, he's going to find ways to run the ball, and he's going to find a few real easy play-action passes and things like that. It's not going to be on, like, Trey Lance to go through, you know, a 4-read progression. He's going to make life easy on him.
Yeah.
He does have a strong arm, and we do know he's smart. Anybody you talk to will tell you Trey Lance is out of this world smart. So I think that's probably where he looks at it and goes, okay, I'll get him to do that, and we'll work on refining the drop-back pass stuff and everything like that.
And you go to Kyle, I get all that. I still wouldn't have done that.
Well,
I still wouldn't have done that.
I mean, listen, he knows my feelings.
Yes.
He knows. I mean, listen, I put myself out there. I hope that hopefully that's why he appreciates me. I don't just always go, oh, you're right, Kyle, you're right.
Yeah.
I always tell him my thoughts, and this is what scares me and all that. But, yeah, maybe now everybody will believe he doesn't tell me everything.
Yeah.
And not everything I say is directly coming out of his mouth.
Yeah, when 49er fans thought Kyle was taking Mac Jones, they're like, Kyle's an idiot. And now that you're defending Mac Jones, they're like, Kyle's a genius for taking Trey. You're the idiot now. We got to just figure out who's the idiot.
Seriously.
Here. Last thing.
Yes.
And then we'll move on
Okay.
to who won the draft for you and other teams out there. Will he spend a year behind Jimmy Garoppolo?
No.
That's kind of the question.
No, he can't. To me, that's where I will say to Kyle at some point and be like, you got to play this sucker. You just got to get him out there and go. You can't go another year with him not playing football. To me, that's one of the issues with Lance. He's got to play more. He's got to do more, just like you heard me say. He's never done a 2-minute drill. He's never had a game really on his shoulders where you go, if he doesn't throw the ball and drop back and dissect this team today, they're not going to win this college football game. He's never even been in that situation. He's got to just get out there and play. And Shanahan, he's smart. He'll figure it out. He'll figure out how to play with them and do all that. He did it with RG3. He'll do it this time around too. So I don't expect. I'm still saying. I don't know. I'm still saying Jimmy G gets traded at some point this offseason. I still have a hard time. And again, just so I don't know. Yes. Shanahan hasn't told me here. But I just, my thought is.
Where would he go? I don't know where he'd go at this point.
There's a lack of spots right now. There's no doubt about it. I would still look at Houston and go, that could be a possibility. With the New England regime down there, they just only drafted Davis Mills. If that Watson thing somehow he gets suspended or traded or whatever else, I could see that being a possibility. But yeah,
that doesn't
you're
seem
right.
likely.
It's
Yeah,
not.
it's going to
It's
be
not.
hard. And to get the price you want, to get enough teams bidding and get the price you want,
that's over.
That seems really unlikely.
It is. And then New England's out of the conversation now, right?
Yeah.
So that's not going to be the case. You can look at Washington, but I don't think Washington's getting involved in that. I think they're fine with Ryan Fitzpatrick. In fact, I heard somebody on TV say that this weekend, that they're totally fine. They weren't desperate to get a quarterback this weekend.
Len Combs, who starts and wins the game first? Trey Lance in San Francisco or Mac Jones in New England?
Ooh, I'm gonna say Trey Lance, just because of like all the things you've said. Like it just seems like they're done with Jimmy G.
Yeah.
They're done with him. And then, you know, with Mac Jones, I think Cam is gonna be the guy. I do. You know, again, I still think there's belief in him up there. And then when you talk about, again, as ready as Mac Jones is and everything like that, like I said, that is some system in New England, and it's got a million different rules. It is truly the most advanced drop-back pass system in all of football.
Takes a while.
So it'll take a while. So from all those things, I think they'll probably just go, you know, you sit back, and they're going to teach him aggressively. If Cam does falter or do something like that, then that might push it. But I'm going to go with Lance.
And finally, an apology to Dynasty Guy 2 and others out there as well. He goes, hey, Chris and Ahmed, huge fan of the pod. Why did you guys have to say Mac Jones was going third overall? I lost a bad amount of money.
I'm sorry. I'm Dynasty. I'm sorry. You know, I don't know what. So, you know, this is the predicament I'm in. You know, yeah, okay, I was wrong. I've been right about a whole bunch of other when I didn't know, but I had information and I know people and things like that. Hey, I tried to tell everybody. I wasn't sure. I did not know. I thought I knew, my friend, and that's what I went off of. So I'm sorry. I am. That's where I know I pissed people off. It's the bettors of the world that are mad when I look on social media.
If they send you an invoice, will you pay them, reimburse
Absolutely
them?
not. Absolutely not.
This is for entertainment purposes only. We've made that clear from the get-go.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.